Welcome in to the PHNX Suns podcast, brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and leave us a 5-star review. I'm Lindsay Smith, here with Saul Bookman and our special guest, John Bloom.
Hey.
Bloomers in the house,
Hey,
everybody.
let's go.
That was a lot louder than I thought it was.
I just saw it, so I was like, I gotta
Not expecting
shake that. You can never have too much cowbell, you know.
You cannot. Bloomer, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's great to be here with you guys. It's great to talk Suns basketball. That means it's a certain time of year that I look forward to every year. And this year, maybe as much as any, probably for a combination of reasons. But I think the first and foremost, and you can all feel me on this, the offseason was a little longer than we all thought it was going to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah. I'm ready. I'm definitely ready to just put that in the rearview mirror and move on for sure.
Absolutely. Well, we've got some really great burning questions to answer today. But before we get into all of those, Bloomer, we've got you here, so I have to ask your thoughts on just all the craziness that was this week of Suns training camp. There's drama and emotions running high. Of course, Jae Crowder not wanting to be with the team anymore. The whole Monty thing. Where are you feeling as far as all of this stuff?
I mean, I think I'm going to go back to what we just talked about, putting things behind you. My hope is that this week was for that. Like, this week was for putting all the trash out. You know, right now in my neighborhood, everybody's got their big piles of bulk trash on the street. It looks like just pile after pile. That's kind of a good analogy for what this week has been like for the Suns. And it's unfortunate because you're talking about a team that's coming off 64 wins, right? We've all forgotten that number because of the way it ended. It's understandable that is the taste that's stuck in our mouths more than the great tasting regular season. It's that bitter tasting second round playoff loss to the Mavericks. So now that we get to media day, then you're talking about some pretty big emotional topics.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, ownership. And I know we don't need to get into it because I know you guys are sick of talking about it. I don't really want to talk about it either. So moving on to the next one. Jae Crowder not showing up was a bit of a surprise to me. You know, not when it started to come out rumor-wise over the course of the last week or so, but the fact that he just got to that point of disappointment where I'm just drawing this line, I'm not even coming, means that, you know, his days are probably over as a member of the Phoenix Suns. I guess we can't completely write it off because we've seen evidence that a player could say it's either me or the coach or the GM and all the ushers, and yet he's back with the team. And so is the GM and the coach over in Brooklyn. So maybe they could patch it up here with Jay. I don't know. But that one's tough because of what he's meant to this team and this group the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. Then I'd go to Deandre Ayton and Monty Williams. That of all these other things we're talking about is the least of my worries. And the reason that's the least of my worries is because I don't think Deandre really has a grudge with Monty. I think if Deandre is carrying a grudge, it's maybe with how the things went with the contract and that he didn't feel like he was getting the love that he maybe thought he deserved through that process. But hopefully that's all behind him too. He looks like he's focused, ready to play. He's in great shape. And those are the main things to me.
Sorry, I was trying to get our intern over here, David, to look at his phone because I'm trying to get your attention. Look at your phone, David. Look at your phone.
Breaking news or something?
No,
Okay,
I actually had a prop I was going to pull out right now, but it's okay. It's okay.
Well, we'll get it.
Yeah,
we'll get to it.
It's the theme of the offseason to me is the bigger story and the way that it all went down, like you just pointed to, was basically, you know, obviously the KD stuff and the DA stuff, but more importantly, the message and the theme I think we can just go ahead and rival with for the rest of the season right here is right there. I mean, let's go.
I heard you're going to wear it, right?
Hey, by the way, you signed this, Jay. Just right there. You signed it. Just so make sure you know.
So it's endorsed. It's endorsed by the man himself.
There you go.
And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that, right, guys? I mean, I watch the NBA Today shows and your shows, podcasts. This is how I prepare, obviously, for the season. Reading magazines, but those things were printed weeks and weeks ago, so it's not timely. But from a standpoint of the chatter about what could happen with Jae Crowder, it's interesting because he kind of shot down his own value with coming out the way he did and deciding to hold out. But at the same time, the guy is still a pretty darn good basketball player who can mean a lot to a good basketball team.
It has to be the right team, though. And that's to your point, like, he completely screwed himself, and I don't think he realized that. Now, instead of talking about teams like the Heat or the Grizzlies or whatever, now you're not going to get equal value or even close, maybe in some circumstances, especially with a championship level contender that he wants to go to. So now you're looking at a team like, you got to pivot and you got to look at teams like the Pacers or the Kings or the Pistons to try and get somewhat of a close value in return for him. And listen, man, I have no problem shipping Jay off to Siberia right now. So here we go.
And that's going to suck for him.
Here. No, there's no grudge.
I'm never going to forget the way he just handled this. Like, it's so ticky-tacky for a veteran like that. Like, be better than that. Just be better than that.
It'll also be a tough pill to swallow if he ends up on a team that is nowhere remotely close to making the playoffs, because he has been a part of the playoffs for the last handful of seasons. He's going to miss out on that. And when that time comes, if it does, that's going to be a real slap to the face of like, shoot, maybe I played this completely wrong.
Yeah, there could be a new yacht in his future named Regret. You might want to call it regret when he watches what this basketball team's about ready to do without him. At least what a lot of us think they can do without him. I thought when you were going to your phones that maybe like two teams swapped benches again. Like was it the Rockets and would they just trade their second teams yesterday?
I don't understand that at all. At all.
So people say there's never trades in September and October, and we just basically had a 10-player trade.
That was a lot.
So maybe there will be something in the making for James Jones. I know he's going to take his time with this. And I still have the utmost confidence in him and how he's created what we're watching here. I guess I could just make it as clear as day for you, Saul. Does PHNX exist if James Jones isn't the general manager of the Phoenix Suns?
Oh, man. Ooh. You know what?
That's a burning question.
You know what? I'm gonna go on a limb and say I think so, but we definitely would not have had the hit that we had last year, and in our growth, especially, and let's be real. The Suns going to the finals, and our sister company being from Denver and how bitter they were about the fact that the Suns were better than the Nuggets and still are. They were thirsty. They were thirsty for something better than them. And so, the logical next step was to come to Phoenix. So,
Yeah, and it expedited the process.
Exactly,
Maybe we give him a little bit of an assist with what he's done to build this. But it's not just him. He's got a great staff. Lindsay, I know you got to know some of the folks that work over there too. And then, of course, the coaches. And we got to talk about that and what they've been able to do. I'm pretty excited that there's been continuity on Monty's staff. I thought maybe there'd be a poaching or two of a couple guys that are right below him, like Kevin Young, who I know had a pretty serious interview with the Utah Jazz. And I got to know him pretty well this last year because he did a lot of the pregame interviews with me when Monty was doing national stuff. So, I think it's just poised to be another great season, even though there's this kind of cloud we're waiting to leave like monsoon season at the end of the summer in Phoenix. That's what it feels like to me. It's just going to move its way out, and we're going to have sunny skies for the next 6 to 8 months.
You threw me a burning question. I'm going to throw one back at you.
Uh-oh.
Are we playing 2K23 before every game still?
Okay, so I did want to talk about
for
this.
Those of you that don't know.
Yeah.
So I would come into the media room often, and Bloomer would be over there on the Switch playing 2K, simulating or trying to play the game that was going to happen that night. Of course, the Suns would win every game.
I'm no good. That's the problem. I need tips. I need 2K like tutoring. Hopefully, there's somebody out there because I still can't shoot threes, and I don't know what it is. I've tried all the different settings, and I can't shoot threes, even with D-Book. It's ridiculous. It's like a crime. But anyway, I do play it, just not in the way that I was doing it at that point. Okay. At that point, it was still a struggle bus that we were on. Yeah. So I was trying to do something to engage with fans that wasn't necessarily about the success of the basketball team. So I was simulating games, and I started like a fake Twitter account with it, and we were keeping the stats and whatnot. Moved on from that. But what I love about 2K, and I honestly still do this, is I use it to prep for my games. When I'm calling games,
you can learn a lot from it.
It's great to learn the other rosters, to see what, maybe even some of the plays that they run on 2K are similar to how the other teams operate, because it's that lifelike. Kudos to the creators of of 2K. If you watch PHNX and this podcast, thank you for creating such a great, realistic way to prepare and enjoy basketball.
Yeah, I mean, listen, those were some dark days. Those 19 win
really
season when I was walking in, I was like, the only other thing you could have done was drink or take OGs before the game to try and forget what you were about to watch, because it was not pretty.
I don't think OGs was legal back then.
That's true. That's true. But we've come a long way since then.
We have, but we absolutely could have used some OGs back in the day. Hopefully we won't need it this year, but just in case you're planning for the worst, because I know that's a trauma response. I still find myself doing it. We're going to talk predictions here in a little bit. And as I was thinking about this last night, I'm like, I have always erred on the side of caution with predictions and gone lower than what I would actually feel, because I would rather be prepared for disappointment than completely disappointed.
The reverse psychology.
Yeah, exactly. But if you want to pick up some OGs, just in case you're like a doomsday prepper or whatever, highly recommend you do that. Also, they just launched a brand new Sleep Edition gummy, which is a game changer. This is a 2-to-1 THC CBN ratio gummy, which CBN is the compound that helps you with falling and staying asleep. So it's really good if you just need some quality rest in your life, just a night where you can sleep things off and wake up refreshed the next day. You can check them out online at ogsbrands.com and on Instagram at ogsbrands, or you can find their products at your local dispensary, but you must be 21 years or older to purchase. We also have a super chat from Psycho Blue. Thank you for your super chat. Said, you guys need to relax, all caps. The team just got back from the former owner drama and are understandably conflicted with it being how they stand for him. We'll be fine. Too talented to bottom out.
I'm former owner yet.
Yeah.
Still the owner. Like, he's just suspended for a year, but he still owns the team. Like, he's not gone. And EJ and I were actually talking about this earlier. Is just about how this is a process. Like, this is going to be a process. This isn't something that all because he said he's going to sell the team doesn't mean that it just magically happens the next day or the next week or the next month. This could take a year. Like, you just don't know. So, and you just never know what could happen in between now and then. Hell, I mean, it's Robert Sarver. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was like, yeah, you know what? I changed my mind. I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so then we're all the way back to square one. Like, I don't know.
I think there might be just enough pressure where that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
there's too much outside pressure now, in my opinion, to where I don't think he's going to change. And it might be inside pressure at this point, too, from his own people closest to him, his family.
Yeah, true.
Who knows? But in the end, hopefully, this stuff happens in the way it's supposed to happen, and it's not a distraction for the basketball team. I happen to think it's not going to be, because even if it takes a while for Robert to sell the team, he's not allowed to have any interaction with the team, with any of us at all, because he's suspended. So even through this process, with him selling, he's not like interacting with Monty and James and the staffs and any of that. There's no
But even then,
involvement.
Players are so compartmentalized that they can block that out, and they could just focus on. Yeah, they've done it. They've done it, dozens of times. So I'm not so worried about that either.
Also, just a little nugget from what I'm hearing from my little birdies. Apparently, word on the street is that Robert plans on selling the entire team, not just the portion that he owns. So keep an eye out for that.
Oh.
Maybe that'll actually come out officially at some point in time. That's what I'm hearing
That's
behind the
interesting.
scenes.
That is interesting.
Okay, should we get into some burning questions?
Let's
dive right in. Our first burning question of the day. What's your hot take for this season?
Ooh.
Me first.
You first.
All right.
Guess first.
My hot take is that I think Landry Shamet is going to go from Saul's outhouse to Saul's penthouse.
Oh, man.
I think Landry Shamet is poised
You're
to
the
be...
second person today that I've heard say that.
I honestly, here's the reason I think this. Because when I watch players and I evaluate guys, I do it from a few different standpoints. I do it, obviously, their gameplay. That's the first and foremost thing for me. How do you play during the games? Because that's what you're really paid for. But then it's also your prep and what you're doing, getting ready for games and all that stuff to me. Then how you're just handling yourself in public and with people like me, the randoms, the others, as we are, the radio broadcasters on the road with the team. All those things factor into how I'm evaluating guys. And I'm not judging them. It's a difference, right, between judging and evaluating. I'm trying to teach my daughters this. But it's, I'm looking at them so that I can kind of gauge what to expect. Mm-hmm. From my standpoint, Landry Shamet last season was a massive disappointment.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's fair. I expected a lot more from him.
Mm-hmm.
Now learning about some of the things that have hit him personally, a fascinating story, which I know you guys may have touched on, but the fact that he's now connected with his biological father and he's connected with siblings he never knew he had. This is a major thing to go through as a grown man. I never had to go through anything like it, but I can only imagine that when you're distracted in some facet off the court, it's hard to just get on the court and lose it all. And
especially when it's such a personal, huge, life-altering type of thing.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, we're not talking about a disagreement with a significant other that you can just put aside for a day. We're talking about literally life-changing type of an event.
I get that, but bro,
So let me couch it. I'm not trying to tell you
all right.
Landry's going to be all NBA and get into the All-Star game and all that. I just think at the end of the season, when we look back at like guys that contributed to this championship-winning team, you hear that? Landry Shamit's going to be one of those guys, and you're going to find yourself surprised that you're putting him as high on the list as you are. I'm not saying it's going to be 6 or 7 or whatever number he's going to come in. But I think based on what we saw last year and based on what my expectations are for him this year, that's my hot take.
I
Is
get
that hot enough?
Yeah,
that is
I love
high.
it.
That is high. I mean, the bar is the floor for him, but yeah, okay.
What you got, Saul? What's your hot take?
Like I said, you're the second person to say Shamit. I actually think my hot take is there's going to be somebody, a sleeper, and I'm going to say Dwayne Washington is going to be the backup point guard by the end of the season.
Okay.
Oh, I like that.
That's how much I believe in that guy. I like his skill set. I think he's got the swag to be able to carry himself, much like Cam Payne did in the bubble. He gives me those vibes right now. Obviously, I haven't seen how he's gelled with this team. I don't know how this is going to go. I could be wrong when I see the first game or the first semblance of a game on Sunday. But I like Dwayne Washington. I think he does it on both ends of the floor. And I think he can control himself and command the offense enough to be able to get everybody involved the way I envision it happening this year. We talked yesterday about DA, Mikal, and Cam all needing more minutes. Well, not really Mikal, but DA and Cam needing more minutes. And if that should happen, they can stagger that starting lineup instead of having to go 5 in, 5 out on the bench. They can stagger that starting lineup with the bench, and Dwayne Washington could be a pivotal part of that. Unless, Monty decides to Aaron Holiday him, and then we never see him on the floor when we absolutely need him the most.
Let's hope not.
Who knows?
Let's hope not.
I heard somebody call him a poor man Jordan Clarkson, and I think if he can be kind of that role for the Suns, heated up off the bench, I think you're right. He can play some point guard too, but I kind of envision him hitting some corner threes, attacking the basket a little bit because he's got that slashing.
Replacing Landry Shamet, yes.
Well, we'll see. But I do think that you're right. And the stagger, I think, is coming because of a number of factors. One, Dario Saric. Yes. I think Monty wants him with the ones a fair amount, right? He wants him to be that connector he talks about.
That'll go over well with DA.
Well, no, DA is going to be out there with Dario.
Okay,
I see that happening too. And then maybe Cam's playing back with the twos a little bit, even though he's getting the start. But I have no idea. I'm not paid to do the rotations or anything like that. But I think it's fascinating with this team because I think one thing we're looking at a lot is the starting five. People love to pay attention to the starting five.
Yeah, they do.
But the winning team in the end of this season with the NBA, usually you look at it and you say, wow, the depth came up big for that team over the course of a season. So I think it's going to be key for this team too.
Sweet.
My hot take is I don't think the bench is going to be as trash as we're all concerned that it's going to be. I have faith that it's not going to be as bad as we all anticipate.
Lindsay is the queen of faith.
I got to have faith, you guys. I got to have faith.
faith.
Also, I really like Mike B's hot take, the positive one anyway, said Cam Johnson gets all-star votes and wins the three-point contest. That would be super fun.
If he doesn't get into the three-point contest this year.
Last year was a huge
That was
disappointment.
ridiculous.
That was a huge disappointment.
He's got to 100%. Okay, next burning question. How many regular season wins?
You know what another hot take could have been?
What?
Is that by January 15th, there will be a starter that's not on this team and KD will be here.
That's what Mike B's sad one was, and I didn't want to go there.
Either was I.
I mean, I'm not ready to bury that either,
no.
based on what I'm hearing, but I'm not ready to
Listen,
go there.
James Jones, what I was going to say before was James Jones is very methodical. You can tell that during his tenure here. He wants to make sure that the move that he's about to make is well thought out. I mean, you could have 9 months to think about a move and then finally execute it in January, I guess. So
exactly. And well, now you're forced to have these next few months to think about what you're going to do, and you're basically just evaluating your own team and all the other teams, which you do on the regular. But now maybe you're doing it with a few extra plays in your pocket if you need them.
All right, so regular season wins. So at the NBA Central today posted this on Twitter. It's ESPN's stat-based win projections for the West. They've got Phoenix at 49. What say you guys?
Wow. I mean, 49 feels low.
I think so, too.
It actually feels low for all those teams. Yeah. I mean, you tell me the Clippers aren't going to win more than 43 games this year with Kawhi and PG and from what we've heard, a rejuvenated John Wall.
So this isn't Vegas. This is stat-based that ESPN's putting out.
Yeah. So like, and for those of you who don't know about John Wall, by the way, you need to go research his story because my man's been through the grinder. And I had no idea until I came across it this past weekend. And I was like, oh, man. So he's been through a lot. I expect him to kind of bounce back a little bit, too. I don't think he's going to be near the difference maker that he used to be. But the Suns at 49 now, my take is the Suns are going to have 56 wins. 56 is my target for them this year.
I usually do a thing, and then I wait till after training camp to go game by game, win, loss. But I did real quick because I got a heads up that we might discuss this. So I'm going to go 53.
Okay.
That's the number I landed on, which, it's crazy to think of an 11-game step back from last season. But I just think priorities may have shifted a little bit for this group, and I'm not mad at it.
Yeah. I had 54. So on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, the over-under for this season, I think, is 52.5.
Well, look at that.
52.5. And so I think a little bit more than that. So I went 54, 10 win differential. I think
the over is a good bet. I think the over is a good bet.
Honestly, yes, 100%. If you have not taken that futures bet, it's a plus 105 for the over. I think that's a good bet to put some money on.
Well, and I do agree with the stat-based projections in one manner. I do think that because the West has so many good teams, that I don't think we're going to see another 60-plus win season from any of these teams.
Cannibalize themselves.
Yeah, so you bring those down, and then maybe there's a few more close to 50, but 53 is nothing to be, or 54, nothing to be upset about. It'd be a heck of a season again here in Phoenix, and yet I know that we're all on the same page, which is, damn the preseason predictions for wins. We just all want to get to the postseason and see them pick up 16 of them and get the chip. I mean, that's what everybody wants, and it's so hard to bring it back and say, but wait, we got an 82-game season ahead of us. Let's get excited for that first.
Yeah, for sure. I can't remember a year where we've had so much depth in terms of championship contenders across the board, both in the East and the West. Typically, you have one or two on one side, and then you have 8 on the other. But this year, I feel like there's 4 or 5 teams on each side that could easily pull off a title run, which is going to make this season just that much better. It's going to be fun to watch for sure.
It is. If you wanted my hot take for the league, that is that I think the Minnesota Timberwolves might have one of the best records in the regular season. I don't think they're going to win a championship or contend for a title, but this team, the way they're built, and you can look at the Jazz with Rudy Gobert and maybe make some comparisons with the way the T-Wolves are built. But now that Rudy's there, I just think they're going to win a lot of games in the regular season. And they're going to do it both now from a standpoint of the guys they have offensively, like Ant-Man and D'Angelo and Karl Anthony Towns. But then you add the defensive stopper who just changes everything in that paint. So, yeah, that's my hot take of the league. I think the T-Wolves might even be a top 4 team in the West record-wise, and I don't see that a lot. I don't see a lot of people predicting that. There's probably a lot of reasons people aren't predicting that, but I'm going to. I'm going to throw that out there.
I like that.
Eldon in the chat brings up a really good point. They said, isn't the takeaway from that chart that ESPN posted that it had the Suns at number 1? I think that is a really good takeaway, Alden. I like the way that your brain works with that one. Also,
that was ESPN.
Yeah.
And how many of their broadcasters have the Suns even on their lips right now? They're not even it's almost like they've taken a pack where they don't even want to talk about the Phoenix Suns right now. And when they're talking about championship contenders, the Suns are never mentioned. And yet their stats people just went and put that thing up there. Why don't they go take a look at their own stats?
Also, some kind of a bummer news that came out of training camp today, which I wish we had updates for you guys, but available availability didn't start till like 1:50, so we really didn't have the ability to be there and be here at the same time. But Kellen Olson did tweet out that Josh Okogie has been limited in training camp with a left hamstring strain and will be reevaluated in 2 weeks per Suns. That's kind of a bummer.
Must have been hanging out with Rondale Moore.
But
so we don't get to see the shutdown defense of Okogie and Bridges teaming up against Australia and the Adelaide 36ers. Yeah, that's Sunday night, 7 o'clock. Looking forward to it. Footprint Center. Heard you talking about your app that's got tickets available.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We're looking for. I mean, come on. I know it's a team from Australia, but you're with me. Let's just go see some Suns basketball. Let's get that taste out of our mouths of the last time they were on the floor together. And they got new uniforms and stuff to look at. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. And you said on the Game Time app yesterday, didn't you say it was like $4?
$3. As low as
$3, you guys.
$3 for an NBA game.
$3 on the Game Time.
Buy your whole neighborhood tickets for crying out loud.
Absolutely. Also, you know what you could do tomorrow before Sunday's game? You should go to Fort Peaks and do the Haunted Brewery tour.
Yeah,
because we did that yesterday. I posted on my Twitter a little video snippet
Except they only do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Oh, my bad. Okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So you could do that on Monday then, after the game. It's so much fun.
It was pretty fun.
I had a blast. Really Have you ever done the tour?
No.
So all year long, they offer the tour, and they give you kind of like the ghost stories, all the history of the building and everything. But in the month of October, they make it a little bit spooky. Well, early September through October, make it a little spooky. And it was so much fun, you guys. There was one point in time that Saul literally was ready to run out of the full-on building.
No, I did run.
No, it was so funny.
I ran to the other side of the group to be behind them in case the exorcist caught him.
I got half of it on video, but after I had to stop recording because I was laughing so hard.
I've never heard Lindsay laugh so hard for so long.
It was the funniest thing ever. Oh my gosh. But it's a ton of fun. If you guys are interested in that kind of thing, I highly recommend you check it out. It's not like a crazy haunted house, right? So PHX Scotty said, if there's the chainsaw noise, I'm out. It's not to that extent. It's a really cool historic ghost kind of tour with a lot of cool information, a couple jump scares here and there, but nothing that's like
Charles
crazy.
may or may not be telling the truth on that one. So.
Yeah, Saul hid behind me. Charles was with us. Yeah, and Saul hid behind him for sure. Saul hid behind everybody. Eli said we need that video. It's on my Twitter. Go look at it. It's short, but it was really funny. Also, you should try Four Peaks beer because it's mighty delicious. But you have to be 21 years or older, and we ask you enjoy responsibly.
Were people drinking on the tour?
Yeah, you can take your beers with you.
Did you have the fries while you were on the tour?
No.
You can't eat while you're back there.
I heard you talking about those things. I mean, that's
they're some of the best fries I've ever had in my life. They're crunchy.
Be the spokesman for them.
They're crunchy. They're salty. They're garlicky. Oh man, they're on another level.
All right, Four Peaks. Here you go. I got your little hook and slogan is already. It's like handmade here. Salty fries, SAULTY fries. I know they already have a name for them, but we could change it because you guys are doing shows there.
It's called Four Peaks style, but we just call them salty
style.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
The AUL.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
I'm down.
Let's go. Let's brand it.
All right, more burning questions. How far will the Suns go in the playoffs? See, this is the one last night that had me being like, should I err on the side of caution as to not be disappointed, or should I actually say what I hope?
I think they're going to squeeze in as the 5 seed this year. I know. Wait. No, that doesn't even make sense. I said they were going to win 56 games. There's no way.
I couldn't keep a straight
They're not a 5 seed. They'll be like a 2 or 3 seed this year. I don't think they'll be the 1 seed this year.
Okay.
They'll be a 2 or 3 seed. And I hate to say it, but I feel like they're going to suffer the same fate as they did last year and be eliminated in the second round.
Second round out.
But it'll be much more competitive.
I mean, look, we could talk about. So you're saying the whole series? The series was competitive. Game 7 obviously wasn't. Game 6 wasn't. And as a matter of fact, neither was Game 5 or 1 and 2 in the Suns' favor. They blew them out. People forget all about that.
4 of the 7 games, every game the Mavs won wasn't competitive.
Right.
And every game the Suns won basically was not competitive.
Yeah. So
the whole series
was very uncompetitive series.
It really is so weird to describe what we saw. And even like in the first round against New Orleans, I had to remind myself, I was going back listening to the broadcast and remind myself that Book missed 3 games in that series. I just totally forgot that he was out for 3 of those games. You would talk about how well New Orleans played. Well, that was a factor. That he didn't play. Sure. And Mikal Bridges had that amazing game that I forgot all about where he made all his threes, all his free throws, 4 blocks, stole a bunch of balls.
Game 5.
Yeah. I mean, he won that game on his shoulders basically against New Orleans. So
I will agree with Brian Brian, I always mess up his name. Brian in the chat.
What's he saying?
I do believe the Mavs will be a play-in team.
How about that?
I don't think that they'll be a top
back.
6 team.
I'm not going to fight it.
I don't think that they have the manpower beyond Luka to be able to do that on a consistent basis. They got up for Phoenix for 7 games. Cool, good for them. But you saw what happened the next round against the Warriors. It just took everything out of them, and they couldn't do it. And the Warriors had a great matchup with Draymond and company against Luka to be able to match up with him, and that's what I think the Suns hopefully will take away from that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, you take Jalen Brunson out of the mix. That's a big loss for them. I know they like Christian Wood, and they're going to fold him in, whether he's their 6th man or a starter, but I don't look at that as anything that they've added. I think it's still a loss losing Brunson because I felt like he mattered an awful lot to that team. Yeah. But, you know, I already spoiled my pick. I think the Suns are winning it this year. I think it's a perfect script. I think if you look at the heartbreak that we all suffered, and forget about just this last year in the way it finished, but the finals against Milwaukee and the fact that they've been a franchise in this league for over 50 years and never hoisted that trophy. It's about darn time, and this season is as good of a chance as any that this team has ever had. Now, you could say that maybe last year's team, because of the way we all got swept up with it, they were coming off of a trip to the finals. They were built to win. They won 64 freaking games in the regular season. You could say that was the better team. But I think when it comes down to it, Monty, through his staff, Book and CP, through the whole roster, have a singular focus now. And it's got to be for the betterment of setting yourself up for the postseason. They all know this team's good enough to make the postseason. We went a decade without wondering whether there would ever be a team in this arena that's just around the corner from these lovely studios, by the way. Thanks for having me here. It is really nice. And these nice suede seats.
Hey, real quick, shout out More Furniture for these awesome seats. And all the furniture here.
Yeah. Really
it's
nice.
Super comfortable, really well built, beautiful. If you guys are in the market, check them out. They have a fall furniture sale happening at morefurniture.com. That's morfurniture.com. Continue.
Boom, boom, boom. I just, I think that I'm always optimistic like you, Lindsay. You talk about not wanting to get disappointed. In the end, everybody but the champion at the end of a season is going to be disappointed if that's really all you care about. Mm-hmm. And if you're a Suns fan, it's probably all you care about because we've seen everything else. So I'm ready to watch it all unfold. I'm ready to describe the action to those who can't watch it for the road games. Going to be back on the team playing and traveling with them. I can't wait. It's living a dream that I've had since I was very little, and yet I get to still be with the Hall of Famer Al McCoy and Tim Kempton at home games. Al's back for season number 51. All these things are amazing, by the way. So I'm amped up. That's why I got this juice flowing through me.
There you go.
So I was 50-50 between Western Conference Finals or bounced in the first round. And I know, I don't like either of those because I want to be full-blown John Bloom. But there is this side of me that is so concerned that we'll be a first-round exit. And it'll be even more heartbreaking than last season because of that. Because it's going to feel like we're just slowly falling back down that hill.
I will say this to kind of put a spin on that, though. We talked about hot takes earlier, and we talked a lot about KD in the offseason. I do think the Suns will make a move this time when they need to the most at the trade deadline that will actually move the needle.
See, because I'm not fully confident in that right now.
I am this year. Because I think James Jones looked at what happened last year, and they rested on their laurels. They were like, okay, we're a good team. We should be able to win it this year. Not really factoring in, possible injury. And in back-to-back rounds, you had your star players injured, for whatever was going on with Chris Paul, COVID or quad or whatever. And then Book in the first round. You got to account for that. And if DA and Mikal and Cam take the step up that we think that they can, you can't let that talent have another great season and not get it rewarded by a championship. Like, they have to have another piece that I think they're going to add somehow, some way. It could even be in the next week or two. I don't know. But I think that that's going to happen this year. I really do.
Hello said if we get SGA for our future, great.
I'm ready for Kelly Oubre to come back. I'm kidding. Hell no. Hell no. Hell no. Lindsay, really? Come on.
Well, that's why Why do you think you got the reaction you got from
Your
me?
face, you're like, what? I'm like, no,
Like,
stop.
Didn't
We
we
all got love for
literally have
Kelly.
this conversation on Tuesday? Everybody but Saul and Espo has love for Kelly.
No. I love Kelly Oubre. Do not love him as a basketball player on the Suns.
Yeah, just not looking for him to play on this specific basketball
exactly.
team, but still have a lot of love for him.
Yes.
Kind of similar to how I feel about Ricky Rubio. I mean, I think actually if Campaign does struggle, Ricky wouldn't be a bad deal. But
this stuff again.
You know, I'm hoping Campaign is the Campaign that he was in the bubble. I don't know why it's like so preposterous to think that could happen.
I hope he does, man. I really hope.
Well, I think the biggest argument that everyone has said is that the league knows him now. They've got him figured out. And that's a huge hurdle that he has to overcome.
He just seemed like he was playing too fast for himself last year. Like, he just didn't trust himself as much as he did the year before for whatever reason. Like, and that's kind of the same thing that's happened to Landry Shamet. I don't like – it's not that I don't like Landry Shamet. It's just that I don't like watching him play because I feel like he speeds himself up way too much in the game. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, bro, slow the F down, please.
Balance, like,
yeah, you know, and even his,
I think he's going to be better.
Even his jump shot and his release was just so damn fast. And I was like, you just need to just take a beat. Take a beat. You'll be all right. And if he does that, he might go back to, I mean, everybody says, oh, if he was the same player he was with the Nets or the Clippers. I was like, he was kind of average then too. Like,
he was, but I went back last season. Just to, I know this isn't the Landry episode, but I went back last season to look at.
It is
now to look at film of him playing the Nets, Sixers, Clippers, and he was a different guy. You didn't see that kind of like where he'd catch the ball and almost already be fading before he released, right?
Yeah,
it just wasn't a natural motion. And if you go back and look at some of the highlights, you might see the same thing I did. That was, again, part of the whole evaluation process and why I have expectations for him. But when it comes back to, Campaign, look, that's a key element for this team. And Saul, you might be right. If we get to the trade deadline and it doesn't seem like he is that guy, they might have to go get that guy, whoever that guy happens to be.
Yeah, for sure. SGA.
Okay, so you guys already kind of touched on this one, so we don't have to spend too much time on it because I think I know the answers based on what you said about the Mavs just a second ago. But the burning question was, who's the bigger threat to the Suns, Denver or Dallas?
Oh, Denver. Dallas isn't. I don't care what they did to us last year. I don't care at all. Like, I think the Suns were, smelling their own farts last year, and they obviously paid the price for it. I don't think that happens again this year. And I'm always gonna hate Luka because he's a hoe.
You know what? The thing that's really pissed me off about Maverick Nation or whatever the heck you guys want to call yourselves is how high on their horse they got after that win. Like, they knew we were kind of imploding. It was a partial of Luka dominating and the Suns just, and so
maybe
for them to like strut the way they have in this offseason, what'd you win, Mavs? Did I miss it? Did you win something? I know they beat the Suns, but come on, man. So I'm kind of hoping that they show that to the Suns early, and that our guys can just punk them every time they meet them, whether it's in the regular season.
Game one.
Started right out the gates.
You think game one isn't going to be brutal?
I hope they will.
There's going to be a lot of feelings for that.
Man.
There are some feelings for sure. And like I said, I think part of it's because of what I'm hearing from Dallas. Like, they were talking so much trash.
They still
broadcasters.
are.
I mean, broadcasters don't talk trash. Assistant coaches, all these people like just really upping themselves and feeling it that they beat a hurting Phoenix Suns.
You should have seen the chat. And hey, to the Mavs fans' credit, I will give them credit. A lot of them have joined our show and stuck because they just enjoy our show because we're fucking good.
Because they think they own you?
No, because they genuinely like a good basketball show.
You guys put on a good show.
And so which is cool. I don't hate that, but just know the Mavs slander will always be here. I don't care what happened last year. This is a new season, and we will beat that ass in game one. I promise you that will happen.
I think if there's a rival, it's this one now. Regardless of what happens basketball-wise, just because the fan bases are at each other's necks 24/7.
Yeah,
which is crazy that gets the Mavs when, the Nuggets certainly could be that fan base after they got absolutely punked, including getting absolutely beat up in their own stands.
If you ever get a chance, go back and watch the day after the Suns get eliminated. Go to DNVR and watch their show. They are dancing on the Suns' graves with shades.
They are.
It was so funny though.
It's all in good fun because they got swept. But Jamal Murray coming back to me is a big story that I don't think is being talked about that much. I like Jamal Murray a lot, and I'm hopeful that he's going to make a big impact for them. But I don't think Michael Porter Jr. Is necessarily poised to make as much of an impact, and people aren't necessarily talking about him as much as they are Jamal, which is appropriate. And we'll see how they play as a group. They brought in some other guys that are new, and so I think they're going to have a little bit of a tweak with the Joker, obviously still man in the middle. So to me, they're a much bigger threat than Dallas. I'm with you, Saul.
Eldon in the chat said, Suns all had COVID for game 6 and 7, but can't admit it because they get in trouble. Only reason Dallas stood a chance. Yeah. I will retweet that one and take this opportunity to remind you that COVID-19 vaccines are free for everyone 5 and older. Those 12 and older are also now eligible for a booster. Visit azhealth.gov/find-vaccine for a location near you. Thank you for the assist.
Before we let you go, John, obviously you like the seats that we're sitting in from More Furniture, as Lindsay had mentioned earlier. Morefurniture.com. That's more without an E, M-O-R. They hooked us all up. It's beautiful in here. It's gorgeous. Hopefully you enjoy yourself.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me I get to take one.
No, sorry.
No, but you can come back literally anytime you want.
Yes,
thank you. You will have an open invitation.
I love that I got a video telling me how to find you. It was great. This is something that should happen more, that people should be texting videos when you go to these tricky office complexes.
I don't know if I'm crazy, and I know this is a meme, so I'm not the only one. Do you get anxiety when you're going to a new location and you can't figure out the parking situation? You don't know it ahead of time?
My first interview at Fox Sports Arizona, right down here, there, I could not find it. And I just walked around and around and around, and finally something caught my eye, and I was like, "Oh, there it is!" And it was just, I know how that feels.
Yep, sure. Same thing. I had my first interview out of college in Detroit, and the radio station that I was going to work at was in a garage in an alley. I had no chance. I was walking back and forth in this alley in downtown Detroit, and if it wasn't for this dude I went to school with poking his head out just to get a fresh breath of fresh air, he's like, "What the heck are you doing here?" I'm like, "I have my interview. Is this the station?" It was a garage. I wasn't expecting that. But you're right. I think it's nice to get a heads up. And as far as this is concerned, thank you for having me. I will come back.
Well, wait, before you leave, we have one more thing. Okay. Two more things. Everyone hang tight because we got a cameo with EJ here for you in just a second. But the final burning question, what's your favorite futures bet to place this season? What are you guys putting on the DraftKings Sportsbook app? I know we all agreed we're taking the over on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. But anything else? We've got
Mikal Bridges, Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay, I like that one. That one is
Belgium to win the World Cup. I mean, does that count?
Yeah, there you go.
Mikal Bridges, Defensive Player of the Year, is a plus 1,500 right now on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. All NBA team, Devin is a plus 350. That was one I was kind of looking at. I also like this. This is cool. I don't know if we saw this last year, but exact season wins. So it's 52 to 55 is plus 265. So if you have an exact number in mind, you can also throw an extra little penny down on this too. And it gives you I think it's 3 games kind of in between three numbers there that you guys can hit on. So
awesome.
There's quite a few good ones over on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. So if you have not download it now and do it soon, because right now they're offering new customers who sign up with the code PHNX an opportunity to get $200 in free bets. So all you have to do for this opportunity is place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win. And if they do, those $200 in free bets are yours, delivered right into your account.
Before we move on, you got to follow John Bloom. If you don't listen to him on the radio, you should. I don't know why you're not.
Yeah.
Because Al McCoy doesn't do every single game. So, John, you fill in for a lot of those. And sometimes he fills in on Bally Sports from time to time as well. So.
Yeah, put the ugly mug on TV once in a while because they got K-Ray doing Dallas Cowboys games. So we do a little dance, and Tom Leander moves into his seat. I move into Tom Leander's seat. And the fun part about it is I'm on a stage. These guys. You worked with them at Bally and you worked with them with the Suns, but you're doing shows with guys like Tom Chambers and Eddie Johnson, and once in a while I'll just flash back to my youth when I would be screaming at him on my TV set, yelling at him to make the shot or drive the lane or do whatever I wanted him to do as a little kid. So I do go back there in my head. If you're ever watching me on the set with him, maybe you'll see it happen. That's when I stumble or something and I take a second to come up with what I'm going to say. Usually that's not a problem, as you could probably tell.
I do have to do a disclaimer, though, about DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. But thank you so much, Bloomer, for coming on. As always, we love having you. Always good to see you here hanging out with us, and we're excited to hear you this upcoming season on all the Suns games. Make sure you guys check it out. But don't go anywhere, because right now you're going to hear from EJ.
I'm here with the one, the only Eddie Johnson. Eddie, how's it going, man?
I'm good, man.
Yeah?
I mean, my vacation's over.
What'd you do? What'd you do in the off season?
I travel, man. I just go on golf trips.
Okay.
You know about getting beat at golf because I've done that to you.
Come on, man. Always.
But just go on golf trips, man. Then obviously hang out with the family. And obviously my radio show, SiriusXM NBA Radio, NBA Today show. We still do it 5 days a week during the off season, but we get a lot of days off.
Okay.
And then I get a chance to host because my crazy co-host, goes on vacation. So I get a chance to show that I could host the radio show. Right. So that's always fun. But that's it, man. I'm just having a good time.
Nice and chill. What's the best course you went to this off season?
Man, up in Salt Lake City. And I've been to Salt Lake City so many times, right? But always just hotel to the game. Never really ventured out in the city. And it's a place called Thanksgiving. That's the name of the golf course.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, they got some other great ones, too. Soldier Hollow I played. That was tremendous. Mountain Dale was a very difficult course. But Thanksgiving, if you ever go up there, man, I stayed in Park City, too, and we just ventured out and went and played golf. Man, that course was unbelievable.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Because I've been on the record saying that Salt Lake City is one of the worst cities in the history of anything.
Beautiful city, though. It really is. You got to venture out and see
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when everything shuts down at 8 o'clock, it ain't for me.
Well, that's because you got to get, you have to join a club to get a drink. That's the problem. Why don't you put it where it is?
Well, hey, obviously the Suns have had quite an interesting offseason, to put it lightly. You don't think it was really all that big of a deal in my conversations with you off camera, obviously. Mm-hmm. What's the biggest thing you think people might be blowing out of proportion a little bit?
Well, I mean, and you talking in regards to the basketball team, obviously.
Yeah.
Just the relationships internally amongst coaches and players. They need to understand, man, they have no idea how combustible it is to be in an NBA locker room. And that's where your leaders come into play. That's when your great coaching comes into play. Upper management, they all get involved and they squelch it. It's divorces that almost happen in NBA locker rooms every day. Jeez. But then they make up.
Yeah.
Because of the combustion of playing a very physical sport, something that's very commanding. And now you got to go home. You're dealing with family stuff. You might have personal struggles. You might be having your own struggles on the court. It's just a lot of different things that go on. But we've always, as athletes, been able to work our way out of it in due time. And a lot of times people hear something and they say, oh, it's over. Oh, it's not going to work. Similar to KD wanting to get traded. And everybody thought KD would get traded the next day.
Yeah.
But what about Sean Marks? You think Sean Marks is going to do that the next day?
Yeah.
It takes time. Yeah. Sort of like our team going to be sold. Well, it's not going to be sold in 2 days.
Yeah.
And so relationships take time. Fortunately, what happens is you're in that environment, you're being paid to be there, and you find a way to work it out. So it's really nothing that I would totally concern myself with in that regard.
The compartmentalization of the athlete, it's himself or herself, I think is very underrated. Once you get between the lines, you don't really care what's going on outside. I've been on the record saying that I didn't think that the Monty DA stuff was really that big of a deal. I didn't think that the players might hear and see and empathize with what was going on behind the scenes within the organization, with the Sarver stuff. But when they get between the lines, there is no effect. They just go. They're a one-track mind almost out there on the court. Would you agree with that?
We're professionals.
Yeah.
And we know that we have a job to do. We've been groomed since middle school in being regimented and then being motivated, led, and you have no choice.
Yeah.
Like when you're an athlete, you have no choice. Like you're going to do what the coach says, or he's not going to give you the thing that you very much desire, and that's minutes.
Yeah.
So that's why we're controlled. And yeah, we can be upset, we can be mad, but when the game starts, you shake it off.
Yeah.
And it's a learned experience. It's not, that's why you take up the game when you're younger. And that's why you'll see some guys struggle with it that maybe started in the game later. Or you'll see guys struggle with it that get to the league too soon. They leave college after their first year and they don't understand discipline. And they've always been around yes men, yes this, yes that, never no, and they struggle. So yeah, it's work. That's why I say a coaching job and a GM job is very difficult, man. It's not easy. It's not all fun and games. And it's fires that you have every day. You put out a fire here, it's another one started over here. Case in point. Cam Johnson probably wanted more playing time. Maybe he wanted to start. I'm not saying Cam did, but I'm just giving you an example. Yeah. Okay, well, if that's the case, okay, Cam, you know what? We're probably going to start you. It's your time. You played very well. You should have been sixth man of the year last year in our thought process because you had a tremendous record. Okay, but this year we're going to go there. Okay, Jay, we're probably going to play you in a different role this year, and we'll probably have to bring you off the bench. So over here was a fire with Cam. Now it's a fire over here with Jay.
Yeah.
So you can't win, and that's why it's very difficult, man. But you just have to be true to yourself, and I think the Suns made the right decision. Cam Johnson should be starting. He's waited long enough, and I think he is a more talented player. Now he's got to prove it.
Before we let you go, we've been talking about this team is only going to go as high as Cam, Mikal, and DA take it. Do you agree, disagree, and why?
I agree. You know what you're going to get from Devin. You know what you're going to get from Chris. But those three guys, they have to continue to evolve and not be like, I don't think they are. I mean, they're very hardworking kids. Don't be content. And the key guy in it all is Deandre. He has to take that next step. I think he showed me something in the New Orleans series that really impressed me. And during the telecast, I kept saying it. I mean, it's hard to get your shot over Valanciunas. He's the strongest guy in the league, probably. He's 7 foot tall, and he's massive. You can't get around him. And Deandre was turning around, shooting turnaround jumpers in his grill. And normally what I do, because I was like that, as an offensive player, I'm busting somebody up, right? Like I would do you if you was guarding me right now. The one thing I'm looking at is your reaction.
Yeah.
I'm looking at what I'm doing to you, how you're reacting. Then it tells me I'm here.
Okay.
And I watched Valanciunas when Deandre was making shots. He was like looking over at Willie Green, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if Deandre saw that, but like that's what you want. Got him. And he has the ability to do that at a high level, man. And this is his time. He's securing out his deal. If he wants more touches, tell Devin Booker to throw him the damn ball. Look, dude, I mean, man, I don't know how many big men threatened to kick my butt if I didn't throw him the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, throw me the ball, man. And
that's why Shaq and Kobe hated each other so much.
But you know what Devin will do? Devin like, okay, all right. Okay, you growing up. I got you. You're not going to fight him.
Yeah.
Because Devin tells people to throw him the damn ball.
Yeah.
That's his language. And so that's the next step for Deandre is to like command.
There you go.
And if he commands, then, then they will start to acquiesce. But you can't be sitting over there pouting and hoping that they give it to you. No, you got to make them give it to you.
Yeah. All right. Well, perfectly said. My man EJ right here. Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, I made this podcast look really good. All right. Time to get out of here. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you later.
PHNX.
Hey yo, my lifestyle is retro. Tell the Phoenix Metro. Megas in control and he ain't never gonna let go. PHNX though. Lindsey Gerald Espo.